In this video, we're going to have a look at the parabola and the transformations that it can undergo. The standard form for the equation of a parabola is y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, and it is the square that indicates that this will form a parabola. In grade 10, we only focus on the transformations of the a and the c values. The bx is done in grade 11. Just like with the straight line, we're going to start off with the mother graph of the parabola and have a look at the transformations it can undergo. The standard form for this mother graph is y is equal to x squared. To determine the pattern that the graph of this equation will form, we are going to complete a table with coordinates. Here I've chosen some negative and positive x values, and we need to determine what the y values are that go with them for this specific function. To determine the y value for the first x value, I'm going to substitute x with minus 3, and minus 3 squared is 9. Minus 2 squared is 4, minus 1 squared will give us 1, and then we have 0. 1 squared gives us 1 again, 2 squared is 4, and 3 squared is 9. From the table, you can see that because the x values are squared and then becomes positive, many of the y values are repeated. If we now go and plot each of these coordinates that we determined, you will see that they do not form a straight line anymore, but a curve. This curve is called a parabola. And here we now have the mother graph for the parabola, y is equal to x squared. The parabola is a symmetrical graph. That means that if we go and focus on the y-axis, the part of the graph to the left is the mirror image of that to the right. This symmetry is caused by the squaring of all the x values. This graph is decreasing on the left-hand side of the y-axis and then increases on the right-hand side. The point where it changes from decreasing to increasing is called the turning point. In grade 10, we have a look at two transformations that this graph can undergo. And we're going to start off having a look at the a value, which is at the moment a 1 in front of the x squared. As this a value becomes bigger and bigger, the arms of the parabola moves closer and closer to the y-axis. And then, of course, the smaller this a value becomes, the further away these arms move from the y-axis. The a value can also be negative. Remember that the equation gives you the relationship between the x and y coordinates. So this minus indicates that to determine the y value, the squared x value will now be multiplied by a minus. This means that the minus in the a value indicates that the graph will be reflected around the x-axis and now be below the x-axis. And here again you can see that the bigger negative this a value becomes, the closer the arms move to the y-axis, and the smaller negative, the further away they move. So a value bigger than 0 or positive will be concave up, which looks like a smiley face, and an a value that is smaller than 0 or negative will be concave down or a sad face. The second transformation the parabola can undergo is indicated by the c value. And just like with the straight line, this value indicates how many units the graph moves upwards if it is a positive c value, or it can move downwards if it is a negative c value. So the c value indicates the vertical translation. And as an example, in this case, every coordinate moved 3 units upwards. Here you can also see that just like with the straight line, the c value indicates where the graph intersects the y-axis, so it shows the y-intercept. So now that we know the form of the parabola and know what the a and the c values influence on the parabola is, in the next video we can have a look at how to sketch a parabola effectively.